Picture this, you wake up in a hospital bed, your body aching, monitors beeping, and discover that the man who vowed to love you forever has disappeared, taking your house, your car, and your dignity. My name is Emma, and this is the story of how the worst betrayal of my life became the start of my greatest comeback. The night everything fell apart began quietly. I'd been admitted for emergency surgery, nothing glamorous, just a sudden medical scare. My husband, Mark, kissed my forehead before I went under anesthesia. "Don't worry, babe," he whispered. "I'll be right here when you wake up." When I opened my eyes hours later, the chair beside my bed was empty. I tried to sit up, pain tearing through me, and reached for my phone. That's when I saw it, a message from Mark, timestamped only 30 minutes after I'd gone into surgery. "Hey, I filed for divorce. Taking the house and car, lol. You'll be fine, you're tough." For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. Who ends a marriage from a hospital waiting room, with a laughing emoji? A nurse walked in just as tears spilled down my cheeks. I shoved the phone under my blanket, pretending nothing was wrong. I couldn't bear to explain. The next 2 days blurred together, painkillers, checkups, the constant beep of machines. But nothing hurt more than the silence from Mark. He didn't visit. He didn't call. I was left to heal alone, terrified about bills, our mortgage, even how I'd get home once discharged. On the third afternoon, a friend texted me a photo that made my stomach drop. Mark, dressed in a tuxedo, smiling beside a woman I'd never seen. Just married. The caption on his feed read, "Starting a new chapter with the love of my life." He had married someone else. While I was still in a hospital gown. That night, staring at the ceiling tiles, something inside me shifted. I'd been gentle, patient, supportive for years, and he'd repaid me with cruelty. If he thought I'd crumble, he didn't know me at all. I couldn't stop him from taking the house or the car, at least, not yet, but there was one thing Mark didn't know, the quiet little freelance business I'd been running on the side. For months, I'd been helping small companies with online branding. It wasn't flashy, but it was steady, and I'd already earned over $130,000. All of it hidden safely in an account under my name. As my body healed, I started sketching a plan, between nurse visits and sips of lukewarm tea. I would get stronger, rebuild, and protect what was mine. Leaving the hospital felt like stepping into a different life. My old home was locked behind a new security code. Mark had changed it. I rented a tiny studio downtown, peeling wallpaper, creaky floors, but it was mine. Every night I worked late, pouring energy into my clients' projects, watching my income climb. I also invested in myself, online courses, webinars, anything about entrepreneurship. Every lesson was fuel, every dollar earned proof that I wasn't the helpless woman Mark imagined. Still, some nights I lay awake replaying his words, taking the house and car, lol. The sting kept me moving. Months passed. My body grew stronger, so did my spirit. I bought a second-hand laptop, upgraded my equipment, started pitching to bigger companies. When a luxury lifestyle brand offered me a contract to manage their campaigns, I nearly cried, not just from relief, but pride. One evening, as I was finalizing a report, my phone buzzed with a notification. An old acquaintance had tagged me in a post. Mark again, this time looking less smug, standing beside the same woman, but the caption read, "Rough start to marriage, but we're hanging in there." I scrolled through the comments. Rumors about money problems, legal trouble, a business deal gone wrong. I closed the app, heart steady. Karma didn't always need help, sometimes it worked alone. By late autumn, I'd transformed my one-woman hustle into a registered company. I hired 2 assistants, upgraded to a sunlit office, and signed a lease on a sleek little car, my treat to myself. For the first time in years, I felt safe, capable, even excited about the future. I told no one from my old life. Let them think I was still recovering, still fragile. I wanted my progress quiet, like a storm gathering strength. Then, 3 months after the divorce papers arrived, my phone started buzzing near midnight. Unknown number. I silenced it, rolled over. But it rang again. And again. By the 13th call, curiosity outweighed caution. Hello? My voice was wary. A pause. Then a voice I hadn't heard in months, trembling. Emma, it's Mark. I sat up, pulse quickening. Everything's falling apart, he said. Please, I need your help. And that's where I'll leave you, because what happened next turned my quiet comeback into a victory I never imagined. When I answered that call 3 months after he'd left me in a hospital bed, I didn't expect to hear panic in Mark's voice. He sounded nothing like the man who had smirked while snatching my house and car. I almost hung up, but something inside me whispered, listen. Emma, he said, voice shaking, I made a huge mistake. My business deal collapsed, the bank froze my accounts, and, he hesitated, I think my new wife might leave me. Please, can we meet? A dozen memories flashed through my head, his message from the recovery room, the tuxedo photo, months of silent tears while I rebuilt my life. I took a steady breath. I'll think about it, I said, and ended the call. That night I couldn't sleep, not because I wanted him back, but because I realized the balance had shifted. For the first time, I had the power. Over the next few days, Mark kept calling. Each voicemail sounded more desperate than the last, apologies, excuses, hints about financial ruin. Meanwhile, my company thrived. A major brand had just offered me a 6-figure contract. I was traveling between cities, meeting inspiring people, enjoying dinners in places I'd once only seen in magazines. I decided to meet him, not out of sympathy, but because I wanted to look into the eyes of the man who underestimated me and let him see what he'd thrown away. The evening of our meeting, I slipped into a fitted emerald dress, paired with heels that clicked like punctuation on marble floors. My assistant had arranged a reservation at the very restaurant where Mark had first humiliated me. As I walked in, the staff greeted me warmly, some even whispered my name. I'd been in a lifestyle magazine the week before, apparently they'd noticed. Mark was already at the table, hunched over, tapping his glass with nervous fingers. When he saw me, his jaw slackened. Emma, you look incredible, he said, almost whispering. I sat down, calm and collected. Hello, Mark. He launched into his story. Failed investments, lawsuits, a tax issue, a new wife who drained his accounts and now wanted out. He kept saying how lonely he was, how he'd been blind to what he had with me. Every word was an attempt to reel me back, but I only heard the man who once texted LOL as he dismantled my life. Finally, he reached across the table. I miss us. We can start over. You're successful now, together we could fix everything. I leaned back, letting a silence stretch until he shifted uncomfortably. Then I spoke, voice steady. Mark, the woman you abandoned in that hospital doesn't exist anymore. I built a business, bought my own home, created a future you're not part of. I don't owe you rescue, or forgiveness. His face drained of color. He tried again, but you loved me. I loved the man I thought you were, I interrupted, not the one who laughed while I suffered. I reached into my purse, pulled out $100 bill, and set it gently beside his untouched drink. Dinner's on me, I said, echoing the night he'd left me with the bill. Consider it a thank you, for teaching me to save my strength for people who deserve it. Then I stood, heels clicking, head high. I didn't glance back as I walked out, though I sensed his gaze following me, heavy with regret. Outside, the cool air felt like freedom. I slid into my car, sleek, polished, entirely paid for with my own earnings, and smiled. The chapter with Mark was officially closed. In the months that followed, my business doubled again. I bought a sunlit apartment overlooking the river and filled it with laughter, friends, new colleagues, quiet evenings of peace. I even started mentoring young women starting out in business, helping them claim the strength I'd once struggled to find. Sometimes people ask if I ever heard from Mark again. The answer is yes, a few apologetic texts, then silence. I didn't block him, I just didn't reply. Some stories don't need an ending. They simply fade when you stop feeding them. Looking back, I see now that his betrayal wasn't the end of my life. It was the spark that forced me to build something better, a version of myself that would never settle for crumbs. To anyone listening who's been left behind or underestimated, don't waste your tears on people who choose to walk away. Invest that energy into yourself. One day, you'll rise so high they'll barely recognize you, and you'll realize you don't need their recognition at all.